好出名嘅，亦都係我哋個 Performing Arts 個 Council 嘅一個 consultant 嚟嘅。不如我哋俾啲掌聲，Desiree。
Hi everyone, I'm Desiree. So have you ever walked into a social event and realized that everyone was speaking to someone and you had no one to talk to?
Yeah, it happened just now.
Have you ever been to a wedding party where you were sat with someone for 3 hours straight and you ran out of things to do? So what do? You take out your phone, right? Pretend. Have you ever been to a networking event at a law firm and found that you had no one to speak to? Well, of course not, because then you come and listen to a talk about how to talk to anyone. So today I'm going to share with you my 7-step strategy on how to talk to anyone at any social event. So it can be easily remembered by the acronym PEACOCK. P-E-A-C-O-C-K. Got it? What's the word? Yeah. So P stands for pickup line. So when you initiate a conversation, you must have a pickup line. So that trips a lot of people up because you have to think about something smart to say. What am I going to say? Are they going to think I'm boring? Well, I have a very fail-proof, simple pickup line that everyone can use. It's 5 words. Can anyone guess what it is? Okay, I shall reveal. It's, hi, what is your name? It's a fail-proof pickup line. So when you don't have anything to say, you don't know how to introduce yourself, say, hi, what is your name? And usually the other person will reply,
My name is Alex.
And at that point, a very good tip is to say that person's name again, for 2 reasons. Number 1, it will help you remember that person's name. So, hi Alex, very nice to meet you, I'm Desiree. So, and then you get your second panic attack because you're like, okay, now what do I say? So we come to our second letter, which is E. E? E stands for event. So you can talk about the event. So you say, oh, how do you know about this event? Or how did you meet the people who invited you to this event? How do you know the organizers? So the second question that you can ask surrounds the event. Now a lot of people will go straight into saying, oh, what do you do? And I would advise against this because number 1, most people come to the networking event, they've already spent 10 hours at work. They don't want to talk about work. Okay? And number 2 is that most people probably don't want to be defined solely by their job title or by what they do. So if you talk about the event, you bring 2 things. Number 1, you already have something in common because the person who invited you, you have a mutual friend, right? Number 2 is that you have a common interest. So you're obviously at that event because you're interested in that event. So then we come to our third letter, which is an A. A. A stands for acknowledge. So you acknowledge the person. And I have another acronym for you, which is N-E-S, NES, okay? So N stands for nod. Can I see everyone nod? Yeah, so you nod. E stands for eye contact. So you make eye contact, but not the creepy type. And S stands for smile. So you smile at the person, and then you can generate the conversation. Okay, then we move on to our next letter. It's a C. So C stands for common. So find something that you have in common with the other person. So for example, if you say, oh, how did you learn about this event? Oh, I went hiking with Uncle Hugo, and he invited me. Oh, I love hiking. Common interest, builds rapport. Immediately you have something to talk about. And this is also a very good point that you can use to keep in touch with the person later, okay? So then we go to O. O stands for open questions. So how do you keep a conversation going? Use open questions instead of closed questions. So closed questions ask for a single word answer. So like yes, no, or maybe. So that's very boring. So you say, did you like the event? Yes. End of conversation. However, if you say, what did you think about the event? Oh, I thought blah, 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 blah. Then that opens a lot of room to speak. So usually questions that start with did you or do you are closed questions. So avoid those. But questions that start with how, why, or what usually opens a lot of room for conversation. Okay? Then we go to our next C. Okay? So C stands for check your position. So after you've gone through PEACOCK, you're probably already in a very good conversation with the people that you're talking to. And what tends to happen is that you start gathering and you become a very close circle like this. So this is what it happens. And then you realize that you've been speaking to these people for like 90% of the time, and there are 100 other interesting people in the room, and you don't know, and you want to speak to them, but you don't know how to leave the conversation. So actually, what you can do is you can check your position. So I would open up my body stance so that there is space for other people to come into the conversation. So check your position so that when you see other people come by and they're interested in joining your group, you acknowledge them. You nod, you make eye contact, and you
Smile.
smile. Very good. Okay, then we come to K, the last of the acronym. So K stands for keep in touch. Okay, the most important part of networking is that you build that relationship, right? So you have to get their contact details. But you don't want to be a creep. You don't want to say, oh, what's your number? Right? Because that's creepy and they might think you're very invasive. So what you can do is use that point of interest. For example, if hiking came up, you can say, oh, I can let you know more about hiking events that I'll be going to next. And usually, if the other person has spoken to you for that long, they'll say, sure. And that's the time when you whip out your phone and you say, oh, what's your contact detail? What's your WhatsApp? And then you get their number. And by this time, you already probably forgot their name, right? You probably already forgot their name. So at this point, this is what you can say is, how do you spell your name? To put it into the phone. And then you'll get their name back. And then you, oh, John. Oh, John, it was so nice to meet you. I'll definitely send you a text message about my next hiking trip. Yeah. Okay, so let's review. What does P stand for? What does P stand for?
Pickup line.
Pickup line. So what is the key pickup line to use? Hi, what's your name? Very good. Okay, what does E stand for? Event. Very good. Good students over here. Yes. So talk about the event rather than ask what do you do. What does A stand for?
Acknowledge.
Acknowledge. And what are the three things you can do?
N-E-S.
Yes. N stands for?
Nod.
Nod. E stands for? Eye contact. And S stands for? Smile. Very good. Then we go to C. What
Common.
does C stand for?
Common.
Common. Very good. So you pick out things that are of common interest and you highlight them on the outset. O.
Open question.
Yes, ask open questions that start with how, what, or why. Don't use did you or do you. Yes. Okay, and the next C is?
Check your position.
Yes, check your position. Oh, we have very good listeners here. So always open up your position after you've spoken for a long time. And K?
Keep in touch.
Keep in touch. And what's a good line to use if you forgot that person's name? How do you spell your name? There we go. Very good. So I hope you can use this. So I have actually two announcements to make. Firstly, I hope if you forgot this talk, you remember this little image of a peacock. So that will summarize my talk today. So if you would like to practice the skills that you learned at today's talk, tomorrow I'll be speaking at the Chinese University for the Neighborhood Symposium. So there will be a lot of different speakers who will be talking about engaging the community, and there's more information on the sheet, and I also have a QR code. So if you're free tomorrow, I'll be speaking at 2:30 to 3:30, and there'll be a screening of my film Plastic Soup tomorrow. Yeah, and then on the 18th of May, I'll be speaking at the Kuntong Promenade at the Heroes 2 event, also for a screening of a film that I've recently made. So if you're interested to practice your peacock skills, then please feel free to come along, and you can scan the QR code. I'll just put it up there. Yeah. So thank you very much. And do go across the room and use the skills, practice them today. Thank you.